Good evening. How are you this evening? I am so happy to be here. Tonight is a special one. We're going to be doing things totally different. I know you're used to me going through the numbers and going through figures and going through stats. But tonight, this is a very special show for me. I am here with the mayoral candidate for 2021 of New York City, Joycelyn Taylor. And we're going to be sitting chatting with her for quite some time, maybe about an hour. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold all calls for the first hour. And I just want Joycelyn to talk and tell you about herself and tell you about what's going on with her campaign and all the exciting things and changes that she wants to do with the city and us. And then after that, we're going to take some calls, and we'll take your calls. So grab a pen and a piece of paper and sit and listen, because, you know, we really need some change, and we really need a new voice, and we need a new rhythm to this city. And you know, guys, I don't endorse just anything or anyone. If I'm going to put my stamp on it, it's because I believe in it. And I'm so excited to share this wonderful person with you. So without further ado, with one further ado, do we have my very special friend on the line?
I can get him, yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? While we're getting my very special friend, I would like to introduce you to Joycelyn Taylor, mayoral candidate for New York City 2021. How are you this evening?
I am very well. And thank you so much for having me on. I truly appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this conversation. We have some really good things to talk about.
You
Change
see the
is happening. Yeah, I see the goosebumps. I have them too.
That's so wonderful. And it's so important to me. You know, Joycelyn was here with us last week on the Nitrous show, and she was just so wonderful and such a presence that I said, you gotta do my show. And she's like, okay. And I was so excited about that. I couldn't even contain myself when she said yes. But I just wanted, it was so important to me to have you have a forum where you could just relax and talk and feel at home. And you're so at home with the mic and everything, so I can't wait. But there is something that I want to do just before you start speaking. Do we have him yet? Okay. Pastor Leo. Oh my goodness. I want to introduce you very quickly to another presence that's been floating in and out.
Hi, this is Leo. I can't reach the phone right now.
Really? Really?
Oh, wait.
There you go.
Pastor Leo, are you in?
Hi, this is Leo.
You know what? You and those buttons, I thought I banished you from the buttons. Okay. It's okay. You can have free for all tonight. Hello, Pastor. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I have I have a new favorite friend and one of my old and dear favorite friends, which is you on the phone. So okay. I wonder if you can just give my show a little blessing tonight, because I have a wonderful guest on that, as I mentioned to you earlier, she will be the mayoral candidate for 2021. And
congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
I would just like your blessing on the show this evening. So
absolutely,
whenever you're
absolutely ready. Let's pray. Spirit of the Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to come and disseminate information in this regard for this young lady who has endeavored to serve your community as mayor. We thank you for her diligence. We thank you for her being able to care for others in so much that she would serve. And so now, Lord, we ask that while she puts forth her platform, that while she explains to us why it is that she wants to serve, that you would restore unto her virtue, that you would bless her in her endeavor, protect her in this endeavor. We understand that politics can be absolutely crazy, But we thank you that you are God and that you're able to keep her and anyone who stands with her. And we thank you for these things in the name of the Lord Jesus. Now, Lord, allow this program to be what it is that you would call it to be. Allow it to be ministry. Allow it to be the kind of program that would heal, that would allow for transparency, that would allow for people to be able to say, this is what hurts, this is where I need help, and be able to get the help. And we thank you for this ministry. We thank you for what you're doing in the lives of both Esther and Miss Taylor. And we thank you for her staff, Esther's staff, the radio station staff, for all that are involved. Bless them largely. Bless them in such a way that only you can get the credit. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was a beautiful
Not at
prayer.
all.
All right,
Not
dear.
at all. Not at all. All right. I'm good. When I get home, I'm going to listen to you guys.
All right, dear. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
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 And that, he doesn't know it yet. The world doesn't know it yet, but that's another upcoming Dr. King right there. He is going to be a pillar in the community, which is one of the reasons why I asked him, because your campaign and his timing are going to be running hand in hand, and you're going to be crossing each other a lot. So there is a purpose to him being the one that blessed this undertaking that we're going to go with here. So now, with me running my mouth, I'm going to let everybody know if the show runs a little bit long for you and you can't sit with us live the whole time, you can view us on or listen to us, depending on what forum you take. Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Twitcher, YouTube, Facebook Live, once again, because it stays active on our pages, which would be Boardwalk Global Media, The Real Discussion, The Raw Discussion, and ESP Speaks. You can watch this again if you're on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, so now that you've got all of the sites that we're on, now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, the name of this week's show is Challenging the Status Quo, and we're doing that with Joycelyn Taylor, mayoral candidate for 2021, and I'm jumping in right now. So, my love, before we start, is there anything that you want to say?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on. And, you know, when you come somewhere and you come to a show and the person who is the host of the show feels or knows the importance of having someone bless you before you even get started, you know you're in the right place. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. I'm always open to blessings. I'm always open to good energy and good spirit. So I appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you felt that. I get teary eyed real quick. I'm glad that you feel comfortable. Well, you know what? There's this lovely woman sitting on the other end of our desk. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up, the story of what's going on with you. Tell us.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I've lived in New York all of my life. I grew up in East New York in pink houses. I come from a very large family. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. My dad was a bus driver, so we grew up in a NYCHA development. So I've lived in New York all of my life. I'm a single mom, of a grown man right now at this point. But, you know, I've worked in various areas in the city. I've worked for the state. I've worked for, you know, private companies. I've worked for various different people. And, you know, I'm just someone that has seen everything that's going on in this city. And is willing to step up to the plate and try to create some change for us.
Okay. Which leads me to my next question. You're a native New Yorker.
Yes.
You notice how I said the New Yorker? But this is a rough and tough and tumble city. Why do you want to run for mayor of New York City? It's a wonderful city, but why? That's a tough job.
Yeah, it is a wonderful city, and I love New York. I mean, you know, from the Yankees to the Mets, you know, from the Knicks to the Nets, I love New York.
Oh, don't get started, because he's going to make you pick one, and then we're going to have a fight.
I can't choose.
Yankees.
Okay.
That's the same thing my son would say. He's a huge Yankees fan. And my dad loved the Mets, so, you know, I have it on both ends. But, when you look around, and the thing is, like, today we're talking about a lot about John Lewis, and my condolences go out to his family. He's someone that he spent all of his life fighting for for us to deal with inequity, right? For everyone to be able to have their fair share. And while all of us may not be out on the front line fighting, we all see what's going on. Right? We all talk about it, the systemic racism, the institutional racism, right? And as I've been going through the city and just going through life and, going through different challenges myself and seeing the challenges that other people were going through, I was compelled to do something, because we created this system. We've created schools, we created the police department, we've created the housing system, the way that it works. And I look around and I see that it's not working for a lot of people. And John Lewis, he fought for us for many, many years. I mean, in the African American community, we've been fighting this same fight for many, many years. And one of the things I realized is that you can't fight and win this fight from the outside in. And even sometimes when you're on the inside, it's hard to fight it. But I don't want my next generation to still have to fight these same fights. And when I talk to people and they tell me every reason why change isn't happening, people with money don't want to see it happen, or this one doesn't want to see it happen, they have too much power and influence, I can't buy into that. Right? We all have control. We all have, greatness within us. We all have power within ourselves to create change. And I just didn't want to sit back and accept that anymore. I wanted to actually do something. I wanted to use my power for good. So I decided that I was going to run for mayor. I wasn't going to continue to, try to ask people to do the right thing. I want to put myself in a position to be able to do the right thing myself.
You obliterated 93% of the questions I was going to ask. Wow, that was poignant. In my research, I realized that you've never run for office before.
No, I haven't.
So with everything that you just said, why not go step by step up and then kind of grab the brass ring because it was the next logical thing to do? Why jump in? You're jumping in right at the top.
Yeah, I know. Go big or go home.
Oh, okay. Give that woman a hand clap there. Wow.
But, the thing about that is, and people ask me that question all the time, the thing about that is that who says that you have to run for other office before you become mayor? Who says you have to run for other office before you become president?
Certainly not me.
From my perspective, I think a lot of people who say that are the people that know that if you do it and you're successful, that you're going to really create change. When I decided to run, and I've had multiple conversations with people, and they said the same thing to me, you should run for city council, or you should run for this. And, you got to learn the system. I don't want to learn the system because the system is not working already. Right? Wow. I'm going into this to change the system. So I'm not trying to be groomed. I'm not trying to, be taught what it means to be a politician. I'm not trying for someone else to tell me what this is supposed to look like. If we want something different, we can't keep doing the same things. Right? And that's how everyone else has gotten. That's why we have issues now. People were council, assembly, senate, borough president. Like, you've been in various different positions throughout your life, and I understand that people want to have a career of service, but a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with the city, you don't get something different unless you bring someone else in. You get a lot of I sit on a diversity board of one of the city agencies, and I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. And we sit on a diversity board. I sit on the diversity board, and we were having a meeting one day, and they were saying to us about how they brought consultants in to try to figure out how to improve their processes, and that they had to train the consultants on how the city works. And therein lies the problem. Because if you want something different, if you want to improve, Don't show somebody else how you think they should be doing it, or don't buy into that we got to keep doing it this way because that's how the city works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that you have to be a council person, you have to go through the ranks. I think that you can do anything that you want to in this life.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you 100%. And if you're going to bring new blood, bring new blood.
Exactly.
Because why am I going to have you trained in what's already wrong to do what's further wrong? We want something new. I appreciate that. Okay, so having said that, what differentiates this campaign from the other political candidates?
Well, the thing is that one of the biggest differentiators is that I'm not a politician. I haven't been in politics all of my life, right? But what I have done is I've had a huge amount of experience living this life in New York, trying to manage the systems that operate within the city. We pay into a government every day on a city, state, and federal level. From my perspective, that government should be working to make our lives easier. Definitely. But if we take a step back and we look at it, that's not what's happening. So it's that experience of knowing what isn't working is what differentiates me. It's different when you're on the top and you're looking down and you see what isn't happening and you think that you have the answer. You have to have gone through some things to have the answer to what the issues are. As I look at my life, like as a single mom, I know what the challenges were when I was trying to work 12-hour days so that I could afford daycare for my son, and still try to raise him and have the appropriate amount of time that, he needed. I know what it was like when my sister was ill and, she has 4 kids and I'm trying to help her and manage her health care and try to take care of her kids and all of that kind of stuff. And how when people are even on public assistance and they want to work, but the system is designed to keep you in struggle mode, right? When my mom was sick and I had to try to manage her health care, when I'm trying to run a business in this city, that's what differentiates me, because when people come to me with those stories, I could feel them.
And you already know.
Because I've been there.
So what do you want to do to make those changes that need to be made in order to correct or enhance the situations that you just spoke about?
I go back to what I said about us, investing in this city, everyone investing in this city, state, and federal government every day. And what I want to do is that I want to have a people's budget. I want to run this city with the mindset of everything we do that is a priority needs to be something that benefits people first. Right? In life, you have the things that are nice to have and you have the things that you need to have. We have to address the needs of the people before we start going and doing all of these other things that are not going to impact people's lives in a positive way. It might be something that is nice to do, right? And then who's going to benefit from it? Right? For an example, look at Hudson Yards. We spent billions of dollars on Hudson Yards. Who does that really benefit? We spent billions of dollars and we have homeless people around there sleeping.
In Hudson Yards, actually, yes.
Right? I mean, it's beautiful. I get it. I think it's really, really nice. But the reality of the situation is, who does that really benefit?
So where are you using tax dollars to make these changes? Is this private funding that you want to bring into the system? Because we're being told on a consistent basis that there's no money.
Well, the city right now, the budget was $96 billion. This year's budget, because of everything with COVID, is about $88 billion. So I think that's some money. We have money, right? $88 billion, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Okay.
Right? The money is there. It's not a matter of the money being there. It's a matter of what we're going to do with that money.
So what do you think he's using it on now? I don't want to be argumentative. I want you to be able to speak.
Talking.
But I jumped in there kind of. What do you think what is he doing with it now? What is he doing wrong? What is de Blasio doing wrong right now that you would, if you were allowed into the office today, what would you correct right off the top and how? What's the biggest pet peeve for you?
I think one of my biggest pet peeves and one of the things that I have the biggest issue with is the fact that every year we're spending about $3.2 billion a year on homeless services. And we're seeing a huge increase in homelessness. It's like we're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Do you know how many apartments you could build with $3.2 billion? Right? Do you know how much money we're spending? We're spending for a family, we're spending $73,000 a year to keep someone in a homeless shelter.
Well, we could have put them in a house.
Do you know that's $6,000 a month? And for a single person, we're spending $53,000. That's $4,400 a month. Right? If we reshift how we use the money and actually buy develop homes and build homes, we could decrease that homeless number, and then we would have to spend less and less on homeless services. And that's not even taking in consideration the $1 billion we spent on Thrive NYC. Because to me, homelessness and mental health go hand in hand.
So break down Thrive NYC for those listeners who are not familiar with that program.
Well, the Thrive NYC program is the program that came to fruition from the mayor's wife. It's her initiative to try to help people with mental health issues in the city and provide various services. I know there's been a lot of controversy around the program because people are not really clear on where the $1 billion is going, right? So it's supposed to provide services if people need like medication, you need counseling, you need various different things. This is the program that's supposed to assist you with your mental health issues, right? So $1 billion is being spent on that program, and then we're spending $3.2 billion on homeless services. So that's about $4.2 billion.
Okay, so Thrive NYC is for the public usage, not for the not for the mental health of the homeless.
Both. For the mental health of the homeless and for anyone in the public.
All right, just clarifying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and I mean, I've seen on the news, a lot of times that there was a lot of controversy about, where the money is going, who is really helping, and all of that type of thing. But at the end of the day, the reality of the situation is that the numbers don't lie. We've seen a 20% increase in homelessness, right? I go over I live in Brooklyn. I live in Bedford-Stuyvesant. I go over on Fulton and Franklin Avenue. And, homeless people have to go out during the day. They don't allow them to stay in the shelter. And, I speak to a lot of guys that are over there trying to, just encourage them and be a source of encouragement to try to get their lives together. And, these people, if you listen to their stories, they're somewhat almost just victims of the system. They're just victim of a system that just isn't working for them.
Yes.
One of the guys that I was talking to, he has a culinary degree. Like, how is he homeless with a culinary degree?
Because life happens and there's one slip up that can start you down a slope where you end up there. I know you see me looking down every once in a while. I'm reading the comments to our listeners. And one of them says, she's got my vote. Yes, DJ FaZe, we understand.
So.
I'm going to roll into the education question. Give me a minute, FaZe. We're going to get there. So I'm sorry, continue. Because I know you kept looking at me and I'm like, I'm reading their comments.
So, these people, they have stories. And I think that, people are ready for us to do something different.
Definitely.
People need some hope. They need to, get to a different place. They need to be able to tap into the greatness that's within each and every one of us. We need to be inspired by something.
Yes.
And as I looked around, there was nothing inspiring me. Right? And I don't think I'm any different from anyone else. And if I don't feel inspired and I'm not even going through some of the things that other people are going through, how do other people feel inspired? I went to a protest over by City Hall the other day, and I met this gentleman, and he said they call him Hustle Man. And he was from Harlem, and I was talking to him, And, he's had his fair share of challenges and stuff like that. And we were talking, and I was telling him about, me running for mayor. I was giving him some PPE and stuff because he didn't have a mask. And then when I was walking away, he said, I'm going to change my life. And I was like, what? He said, I'm going to change my life. So I went back to him, and I was like, well, what do you mean? He was like, because you're running for mayor, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to stop being like this because I want to be better. You make me want to be better.
Wow.
And that's what I want people to understand, that no matter where you come from, no matter what your history is, no matter what your story is, your life can always be better. And don't let the fact that we've created systems that just don't work for everybody and it hasn't worked for you, don't let it take you all the way down. Find something every day to inspire you. Find something every day to do that makes you feel better about yourself.
You see why I wanted to give you my platform? You are downright emotional right now. I can feel the emotion coming off of you. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
In that last story, you took us into a situation where you mentioned COVID. I want to ask you, how has COVID affected your campaign? Because with the lockdown and not being able to be in contact with people, and we're doing this thing on Zoom, and even when we talked, I was so happy that I could actually have you here and we can see you, and you're not a picture on the screen. But how has it affected the campaign for you? Because it had to have slowed down the rhythm a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it did slow down the rhythm of the campaign a lot. And I think that during that moment, for everyone, it should have slowed down the campaigns, especially the fundraising aspect of it. Because you're talking about now we're in a time where people aren't working. We see the high numbers as it relates to unemployment. People are wondering like how they were going to pay their rent and how they're going to pay their mortgage. So, for our campaign, because we are grassroots, it did become a little challenging as it relates to fundraising. But one of the things that I felt it was important to do, and I love my team and I love the fact that they're always on board with, trying to be a resource to other people. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and, they were able to assist me with doing, was to find information and resources to give to other people. So that's what we primarily focused on during that time. We focused on like pulling together a list of various resources that are available, food pantries where you can get PPE, how to file for unemployment, how to file for, any services that you might need, and even to assist like small businesses. I do have a nonprofit, New York City MWB Alliance. We did a couple of Zooms, one with SBS, one with SBA for small business owners, and then also the people in the arts, because I think, that was most challenging for them as well. Broadway's closed down, right? So, we found out about resources that were available for them. We listed that on the website as well. So that's what we focused on. We focused on, how can we be a resource to others during this time?
Well, we're still actively kind of going through this whole thing.
We are.
So I want to, can our audience tap into some of these resources that we're speaking about?
Yes, you can. And if you go to my website at Taylor, Taylor, for FOR2021.com, you will see a tab there that'll say COVID resources. And you click on that tab. There's an Excel spreadsheet. It has various different tabs, and it's labeled by like whether it's general services, miscellaneous, small business. So people should definitely look at that and take advantage of it if you need any services. Because one of the things I want people to understand too, do not be embarrassed about going to get services. You paid into the system. That's how it's supposed to work. When you are in need, the system is supposed to be there to help you. And right now, this country is spending trillions of dollars. That's trillions of our money, right? And we need to make sure that we are getting the services that we need. We also need to make sure that we complete that census. Right?
The census keeps swallowing us.
Yes,
please.
Yes, we have to complete that census. So there's also a link on my website for the completion of your census as well. And I haven't put it up yet. I just posted it. If you go on my social media at Taylor for 2021, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I made a post. I think it was last night. We did a post, or the night before, that now New York State does have a rent assistance program. So I'm encouraging everyone to go take a look at that if you're eligible to apply.
Okay, I'm going to ask, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to ask you to say that one more time so that we can get our tech to type it in the comment field with the Taylor 2020. That's at your website, right? That's
Taylor
where the link.
Taylor42021.com is the website, and that's where the COVID resources are. What we haven't added to the website yet is the new program that New York State has for rent assistance. But it is posted on social media at Taylor for 2021.
Okay.
So if you go on the social media, you'll see the link for that. And I just want to encourage everyone, if you think that you need rental assistance, you think you're eligible, you should go apply. Even if you don't think you're eligible and you need rent assistance, you should go apply. And take advantage of it.
Exactly. Listen, every little bit helps right now, and we all need a little bit of help. So don't be embarrassed, ladies and gentlemen. You paid for this. This is your money. It's been misappropriated way too long, and someone went out. She went out and did the research for you. So go and get what's yours in order to get your health, in order to get your finances, in order to get food. You have a pantry situation.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. It's there. Okay?
Yeah.
Wow. You're amazing. You know, I think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Oh,
so
thank you. I think you're amazing as well. That's why I'm here.
Oh my goodness. You know, they say queens need to fix queens' crowns.
Exactly.
So I'm here to make sure your crown stay. I'm standing behind you, girl, holding the crown.
Behind
it's okay.
you too, right?
You're a sweetheart. Oh boy. So now, Biggie. This is a big question. You're in office because, you know, I visualize things. You've already won. Your first 100 days. What are your 3 major hit points that you're coming in, you're buckling down? This is what you want to do. 100 days. What are they?
I think the first, my plans are to address 3 things immediately: housing, education, and policing. Because I think in this moment, those 3 things, especially given the pandemic, are the 3 things that are really critical right now, and the things that we need to ensure that we are addressing. And I think the way to do that is part of what I said before as it relates to ensuring that we have a people's budget. Right? We're going to shift some dollars around to ensure that we're able to actually see some impact in those areas, and create some change around those areas. So as it relates to housing, I want to invest more money in actually creating opportunities for people to have real affordable housing. We do a lot of data analysis about the demographics in this city and how much money people make. And we have all of this information, but yet we don't seem to be building things that people could afford. We have to stop that. You know, we're in a city that is a vast city. You have so many different people from so many different backgrounds. But the reality of it is that only 7% of this city 7% of the people in this city are millionaires. Why do we keep building all of these luxury apartments when that's not the demographic of this city?
Who are we building them for?
Exactly.
And we, as a nation, as a city that is in a nation that is thriving, so to speak, we are attracting those people from overseas who are coming to stay here, but we're squeezing our own out. So how are we going to do this, though? It's a wonderful plan. It's a wonderful statement. How's it going to work?
It's going to work because we're going to look at the budget. We're going to look at everything that we have allocated in the budget, and we're going to shift some things around.
Okay.
And we're going to invest in some additional housing. And when you're building housing, just like when you're doing with infrastructure, that's going to create jobs and opportunity, right? And hopefully what my plan is for people who are living in the community to actually be able to have access to those opportunities. You know, I go out and I speak with a lot of residents in NYCHA, and NYCHA is something that's really near and dear to my heart because I grew up in NYCHA, right? And one of the things that I always hear people say is that how disheartening it is to them that they live in their areas and they have skill sets and they can't even be hired to do the repairs in their own areas. You know, that has to stop. I want to be able to see people who live in these communities be able to get opportunities, because we talk about, you know, all of the things that are going on in the community, our children not having anything to do, these young guys not having anything to do. Well, create something for them to do, right? We say the idle mind is the devil's playground. You know,
that's true.
We say the idle mind is the devil's playground. We have to create something for them to do, and we have to make them feel good about where it is that they live.
Exactly.
Right? You know, I started this hashtag I Am NYCHA campaign to support NYCHA residents, because stable housing builds stable communities. And it's so important that everyone have stable housing. And we talk about, and the thing that's interesting to me is that when I talk about wanting to create more housing, right? When I talk about wanting to invest more in education, when I talk about wanting to reinvest in policing in a different way, everyone seems more concerned about where we're going to get that money from, like we don't have it. But when we talked about $11 billion for jails, did you ever see anyone question where we're getting that money from?
Nobody blinked.
When we talk about, you know, $6 billion for the police, nobody questions where are we going to get the money. So I'm going to get the money the same place we've been getting it for all of these other things that don't benefit us. That's where we're going to get it. I'm going to take the money from the stuff that is not benefiting us and put it in a budget in a way that takes care of people first. Because the reality of the situation is that we have data. The city has done a report that talks about the demographics of the city. They've done analysis of what the city will look like from this point until 2040. How many people should be living here? How many people will live? We do so much analysis about all of this all the time, right? So it's not like if we build enough housing for everyone and we know what it is, that's a continual thing. But if we get to a point where the majority, 95% or 98% of the city has the housing that they need, then we could start investing that money in something else. But if we're not ever really addressing it and putting the money there, we will continue to have these conversations.
We're going to keep going in the cycle and cycle it all over again. All right, hot spot. I'm going to hit a hot spot. Policing.
Yes.
What are we doing?
We are reimagining the policing. I want us to have a New York Safety Department as opposed to a New York Police Department, with the focus more on ensuring safety as opposed to policing. Because I think that if you even just look at the meaning of those two words, right? Words are things. Right? Words make people feel a certain way. And I think if we even call it something different, people will feel different about it. But one of the things that I also want to do, part of my plan, is to ensure that I would like to have the police officers live in the city.
Okay.
That's going to come with ensuring that we pay them appropriately, we train them appropriately, that they're part of the community, building community relationship. But we have to be honest that in order to build community relationship, it's going to take stuff on the part of the police department, but there's going to need to be also accountability from the community, right? When things happen in the community, listen, it takes a village, but the village can't create change in silence. And at this point, the village can't keep protecting the people that are causing havoc in the village. So we have to decide as a community, as communities, we have to decide if we're going to start calling these people out and, you know, building relationship with police officers so that we can change our village.
You mentioned training with regard to the police. Given the history and the conscious or the lack of consciousness with the police and what the origin was. How do you feel we should approach the new training that's being implemented when we do retrain them? Because, okay, case in point, overseas, police officers in some areas are trained for 2 years. Our police training is maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
And they don't carry I lived overseas for many years. There's a lot of countries that do not even carry guns. We have 3 months of training, very limited psychological profiling on the men in blue, and then we put a gun in their hand and say, here, go out. Now, living in our communities, yes, I think that's a wonderful idea, but don't we have to change the overall mentality of who we're putting in these positions? Shouldn't there be a deeper psychological profiling when choosing a police officer, as opposed to just picking him because he's out of high school? And wait, now I think you have to have, 2 years now of college?
Yeah, you do have to have a degree.
But I think that's a very limited requirement for someone who has so much power in a community.
Yeah.
So how are we going to revamp this?
Yeah, because, police officers have the power of life and death,
Yes.
right? That's a huge responsibility. And I don't think that 3 months of training is appropriate and it's enough. Like, if you look at people in the military, they are constantly in training. The training is consistent. That's why when someone in the military goes out on a mission and they're doing something, 9 times out of 10, they get their target, right? Whatever the goal is, they meet it. But we can't have the police officers have that same level of authority to have life and death, and then we've only provided them with 3 months of training. We can't have them, you're not going to get the best of the best of the best if you're not paying the best of the best of the best, right? We have to increase what our standard is. We have to look at what the goal and the expectations are, right? And that's what I want to do. Like, our police department should be best in class. We are New York City.
That's right.
We are New York City.
Well said.
Our police officers should be the best in class, and we have to bring back respect on both ends. Respect from the community and respect from the officers. But I think that, if you talk to a number of people, they will tell you that their interactions with the police have not been pleasant. And that's part of what the problem is. We have police officers policing things that are going to make the community against them, right? Look at the situation with Eric Gardner. Should we really have been police, had like 10 cops around Eric Gardner for selling cigarettes? How much money did we spend right there? Right? And how much money did the city continue to spend from being sued?
Correct.
So we got to look at what we police, how we police, and what makes sense. That's what part of my plan is. I actually wrote a blog. I have this blog that I do called Monday Morning Thoughts. And the blog that I did for last Monday actually talked about the whole issue with the police officers and what part of my plan is as it relates to the policing. But specifically, those are some of the things that I want to see happening. I want community policing. I want to change the name of the department. I want to have more training for the police officers. I want to increase the standards. I want it to be the best in class in New York.
Good answer. The blog is directly attached to your website as well, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we can, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out the blog. It's right across the top on one of the key tabs. Okay, next one, education. That's a biggie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, education. That is huge, and it's so important, because when I think about education and we think about policing, to me, I feel like it almost goes hand in hand. Because if our kids don't have a good education, right? If they're in an elementary school and they're graduating from elementary school and they can't read and they can't articulate and they don't have critical thinking, and they go into junior high school and then now they're struggling because they're, getting embarrassed because they can't read and they can't articulate and they don't have critical thinking, and now they're going to high school and the same thing is going on. What do you think will happen when they graduate from high school? What will be their options? Where are they working at? What are they going to do? We have to fix the education system. It's a shame that in 2020, when this pandemic happened, kids didn't even have laptops and the things that they needed in order to be able to even work remotely from home. Right? What are we investing in? We spend $337,000 a year to house one prisoner in Rikers.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah, and our education system is failing us. That's why I talk about the reshift of priorities. The money is there. It's what we're choosing to spend it on that's wrong. It's how we're allocating it. And, when we talk about kids, even when I look at the pandemic and everything going on right now, and everybody's concerned about sending their kids back to school, and rightfully so, because safety is an issue. But I want to say this. As a parent, I would be okay with my son having to do 13 years of school if he's alive. You understand what I'm saying? And even without this situation, parents have to start thinking differently. You have to understand what it means that when your kid is in school and they're not doing well, you got to figure out how you can engage them in a way and figure out what it is that they need to be able to learn and what it is that they want to do. Because at the end of the day, no parent wants to take care of their child forever.
That's true.
Right? And if we don't want to take care of our kids forever, it's our job to train them to be able to grow up to be purposeful adults.
Exactly.
And with no excuses. Don't go over there to the school and, start getting in the teacher's face. Don't say this, don't say that to your child. Guess where they will say whatever they want to your child. And we know this already. In jail. Right? And guess where, your child has to be able to listen. And, when left to themselves, they have to be trusted. In the workplace. We want our kids to be employable. So if we want our kids to be employable, we have to set a standard for them. And that starts in elementary school, junior high school, and high school. And we also have to make sure that we're giving them the tools that they need to actually be adults.
Question for you with regard to the education and the teachers. First of all, how do you feel about the teachers in the system, the current teachers in the system right now? Do you feel that we are equipped with the right teachers for the New York City school system, number one? And number two, the tenured teachers that really do need to be out, how would you address that? What would you be doing to shake that system up a little bit differently? Because there are a lot of teachers who are teaching that really should not be teaching anymore.
And I think due to this COVID pandemic, a lot of those teachers are going to be out anyway. Right?
Okay.
Because they're going to be like, listen, they don't want to do this. It's just not worth it. But I also think that, the same thing that I was saying about the police officers, we're not paying our teachers enough. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. Listen, we have teachers. I've spoken to teachers that are driving Uber at night in order to be able to live in this city. Think about that. Do you want a teacher coming into school, teaching your kid, leaving school, going to drive Uber, going home, trying to get some rest, and then coming back to school to teach your kid again? And
still having to buy school supplies because there's not enough money in the budget.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, we want best in class teachers. That's going to cost. What are we willing to pay for? We're willing to pay we paid $337,000 for one inmate in Rikers. What's the starting salary of a teacher? $40,000-$50,000. We're investing more. Wherever we invest our money, that's where we getting a return on investment.
Exactly.
You're investing $11 billion in jails. Don't think that those jails are going to sit empty. Right? You got to invest. If you're investing $11 billion in jail, then you're counting on people being criminals and locking them up. Because, what are we going to have, nice, shiny jails and they're empty?
And now you've segued me into the next format, bail reform.
The thing with bail reform that was really interesting to me, like bail reform happened, like, let's say on Friday at 5:00, and Friday by 7:00, everybody was like, oh my gosh, the streets are crazy because of bail reform. Come on. listen, I understand that we have to have a system, but the system needs to be able to work. And, the reason why people wanted to reform bail is because of the fact that there are a lot of people that are sitting in jail for minor crimes that sit in there for 18 months, right? And it just doesn't make any sense. We could have, if we have them in there for 18 months, because that's $500,000 now, right?
Right.
We have them in there for for 18 months. We spend $500,000. They don't come out with a degree. They don't, come on. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's just a consistent waste. So here's what I'm going to do right now, because you didn't think that you could push an hour. You're pushing an hour.
Oh,
right
really?
Now. What I would like to do, I see a lot happening on this board. And DJ Faze, just pick up the phone and call in, because he's... Anyone who wants to call in, let's give him the number, Rocky. We're at 908-242-6234. We're sitting here with Joycelyn Taylor, the next candidate for New York City Mayor 2021. I believe that she's a winner already. I'm projecting into the future. Pick up the phone, give us a call, and you can ask your questions, because we're on a roll right here. We still have more to go, but I want to make sure that I get all of you in and give you an opportunity to talk with our wonderful mayor to be. Once again, that number is 908-242-6234. And once again, if you're having trouble sitting through the whole show and you can't stay with us the whole time, you can watch us again on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Twitcher, YouTube, Facebook Live. It'll remain on there forever on our pages, and Instagram. Rocky, how you doing over there?
Rocking and rolling.
Okay, so what do we got? We got anybody on hold, or we got anybody calling in? Because I can
start harassing people.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? You're here. You're not mic'd up, but you're here. Do you want to ask Joycelyn a question? Because I know you're burning from. Well, it doesn't take long.
And I also want
press 1.
Yeah, you got to call.
Press 2.
Hello?
You're on live.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, you're speaking to ESP. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Hold on for 1 second.
Good.
Call from
DJ Faze.
Faze.
Faze?
Hey, what's going on? DJ
How are
Faze?
you? You're on
Hold
ESP Live. Hold on.
How are
I got
you?
another call on the line.
Hold on.
Wow. Okay.
I know I could see it.
Yeah, hello?
You're on ESP Live. That one we didn't catch.
Hello? 212-281? Hello? Yo.
All right, let that one go. Okay, you're with ESP Speak. So who am I speaking with?
Yes. Okay, me. This is me. Are you ready for me?
Hi, me. What's your question?
Okay, I have just 2 questions, and then I'm gonna let you go on. One of the questions is that she said something about the education system and paying the teachers more. Now, are we paying the teachers more to do the same things they've been teaching all the while? What kind of education are we teaching our children? Are we teaching our children that Christopher Columbus discovered America on that same old education, or are we going to change this education program?
Okay, that was question 1. What was question 2?
Question 2 is the African descent campaign, the reparations campaign. Is there any way that she can speak her views on the reparations and when we should, or if we should even get these reparations? Okay,
thank you so much, DJ Faze. I'm going to have her answer both of those questions, and we're going to roll into the next person on hold as well. So she's going to answer them, and you actually know what? They hung up, so you can stay. So, Joycelyn, revamping the educational system. In the revamp, and we're going to pay teachers better salaries. We're going to do what we need to do for our children, but are we changing what we're teaching them? How are we revamping what's in the school system right now?
Yes, we are going to change what we are teaching. And I also think we're going to, one thing COVID has showed us is that we can change not just what we're teaching, but the way that we're teaching as well. And I think that in 2021, we have to have a system that works for us and makes our lives easier. For myself personally, I think there are some things that we need to be able to teach, but I also think that we need to teach kids things that are going to be practical to life. It's hard to get kids excited about things that they could just Google. If they're interested in it. We need to make sure that we can have an education system that's beneficial to them. You know, we don't talk about finances enough. We don't talk about ownership. We don't talk about what it means to keep a household, what your house should look like. We don't talk about critical thinking. We don't talk about forward thinking. I mean, there are so many things that we need to really teach these kids that will help them as adults that we don't delve into. And I want to delve into more of those type of subjects as opposed to, things that just don't really interest them.
As mayor, how much of a hand do you have in restructuring the educational system? Doesn't that come more from a federal level? Well, with Ditzy DeVos is what I call her. But isn't the mandate from there, or is it from state to state? You would have to pair up with Cuomo.
Yeah.
And then how much control do you have as the mayor in terms of what gets into the schools and in revamping the teaching?
So the city does have a level of control, because if you look at now, when you see Governor Cuomo speak, he speaks about the fact of whether he's going to keep the schools open or whether he's going to close them. He never goes into what that looks like. It's up to each city within the state to figure that out for themselves. So his mandates don't stretch that far. So I think that we do have a possibility of reimagining what school is, and we should take a look at it. And here's the thing about it: if it's not working for us, fix it. Right? We hear from so many parents that just aren't happy with how the school system is. I've had conversations with students that talk about that they don't like how we have this testing system, that they don't feel like these tests are accurate assessment of who they are holistically as a person. Right? You're testing somebody, and to me, testing is, it's great to see, what it is and what you don't know. And especially when you're going into specific fields, if you go into law, you're going into medicine, there's certain things that you should know, right? But if you could be having a bad day and you go to take a test, and that's it.
That's it, yeah.
Everything that you've done has been based upon this one test. And, if you can memorize stuff, listen, you could be an A student.
We are still teaching the children as if we were an industrialized nation.
Exactly.
We need to pull away from that structure and move into the current day. That's why the STEM programs are more feasible for most of the children right now. So would you be bringing that type of environment more to the schools, where the kids would be getting out and doing more applicable day-to-day study in an active environment?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that what I would like to see happen, first of all, what I would like to see happen in the school, and what my plan is for the school, is that we're going to deal with each child holistically. All right. And when kids come to school in the morning, I want kids to have 5 minutes of meditation. Calm down. A lot of these kids are rushed in the morning. They get to school, and you can't, even us as adults, if you wake up in the morning, you're rushing. Right? You're trying to get to work. By the time you get to work, you sit down, you can't function. Right? And we do the same thing with kids, and then we expect them to sit down and learn all day. I want them to be able to be still for a minute. Right? Reflect. What is this day about? What is it that we're going to do? I also want us to figure out early on how these children learn, because we all don't learn the same way. Some of us are visuals and we'll get it. Some of us, when we hear something, it clicks for us. So we need to figure out what is the best way, and we need to invest in kids in this way. I think it's over in Japan that they don't even start teaching some of the things we teach our kids until they're like in the 3rd grade, because they do character building, right? They're more concerned with their children having character than their ability to retain information.
So would this mean that you're more apt to bring more therapy in terms of guidance counselors and holistic therapists into the schools to help these children find their way, so to speak?
Yes, I think that we owe it to them.
Okay.
Right? That's part of teaching them. That's part of, ensuring that they grow up to be productive adults.
Wonderful.
We have to teach them everything. And just let me say, we also need to teach some of the parents.
This I was just going to say, because a lot of these things will be carried home, but they won't be reinforced. So we also have to get into the homes as well. His second question was about African reparations. So where are we on that? Because we what are your feelings on it? It's a question.
Listen, I think most people who are from African American descent believe that they should be paid reparations. And I have to say that I agree with it. I mean, this country really was built off the back of African Americans' free labor, right? I think it's more of a federal conversation. I know there was a mayor recently that said that they were going to give reparations, but their form of reparations was that they were going to just invest more funds into the community. It wasn't really a payment to the citizens of the city. And the thing about it is that they're already paying taxes. You should be already putting money in their communities. Right? To me, that's not reparations. But but just as important as reparations, we need to think about where the money that we're giving the government is going right now as well. Right? Because even in the city of New York, we spend $22 billion on the procurement of goods and services. That money is going to build wealth and legacy for someone. How many people in the African American community, or how many MWBEs or small businesses that are owned by, African American are getting those opportunities?
Wonderful segue into my next question. The legalization of cannabis is legal in the New York on the city level. It's still not legal on the federal level. When they first opened this up, we were told that people who were incarcerated and had served time because of cannabis were going to be given an opportunity to come out and work in the business and possibly have their own dispensaries. That has not happened. As a mayor, how are you going to look at that situation or revamp that situation?
I definitely think that we need to review that, and we need to ensure that those people are able to have some kind of opportunities. People have spent their lives in jail for something now that the city is willing to make money off of. Right? So we have to address it. And part of the way that I would address it is the barriers to entry. Because even to be able to get into the legal cannabis business, you need to have millions of dollars. So when you set that as a barrier to the entry to be able to be in the field, you're already saying that you don't want these people in there.
Exactly.
Right? So it sounds really good when we say that we want to give them opportunity and, we're going to make up for it. But then when you say, oh, okay, but you need $1 million in order to get a license or to be able to do X, Y, Z. Then that gives you the ability to say, well, we tried. You didn't have the funds.
You just didn't have everything, right? Sounds good on paper.
It sounds good. It's sort of like what we do with MWBE firms, right? We have all of these programs and we say that we want to help them. But then we say, oh, but do you have money? Because if you want to do work with the city, you have to use your money and we'll pay you back. That in itself, to me, is discriminatory. Because basically when you say that, you're saying you only want to do business with people who have money. Right? And that 9 times out of 10, a smaller MWBE firm isn't going to have the funds to be able to do it. And why should someone have to borrow money to do the city's work?
Exactly.
Right? The city should take a financial responsibility for its work themselves. So it's the same situation with cannabis. If we want to open up the playing field as it relates to those people, if we're serious about it, we have to look at what are the requirements for entry. And that's what I want to do. I want to look at the requirements for entry. And much like with MWBEs, I want the city to be responsible for creating the opportunity.
Wonderful. Do we have a call on hold?
Yo, you on the air?
Hello.
Hello, you're on ESP Speaks.
Hi. My name is Tyrone.
Okay, you're breaking up. Hello?
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes.
Sorry about that. So I have a question about, well, actually it's more of a statement. So I work in human resources, and I've been working in human resources for a really long time. And I noticed that white children seem to be so much further ahead than black children coming into the workforce. And it's a combination of, obviously, economic advantage. But I do want to go back to the parents and the responsibility that I think parents are not necessarily either equipped to take in our communities or are unwilling to take in our communities in some cases. So what can we do to support parents that maybe they're not equipped intellectually or perspective wise to help their children compete more competitively with our white counterparts?
I think that it's going to be important, and that's the reason why I brought up parents, because it's not just about the education of the students. I think it's going to be important that we give the parents the resources that they need to be able to be an asset to their students. A lot of them, they're struggling themselves. Maybe they didn't do that well in school either, right? So when their kids aren't doing that well, it's hard for them to be able to help them. So I want to give parents tools and the resources that they need. I want to make sure that their kids have the resources that they need as well. And that's going to take more of an investment from the city in education. I felt like my headset went off for a minute.
No, you're good. We hear you.
Yeah, so it's going to take more of an investment in the education process and giving the parents the tools that they need to understand that, how important their child's education is. And, and the thing about it is that if, as a parent, if you're working 12 and 14-hour days to be able to take care of your child, that limits the amount of time that you can even be a resource to your child. So I think that when we look at education and when we look at everything, it has to be a holistic approach, right? If we want to give these parents the ability to be better parents, then let's make sure that we can ensure that they're not working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Amen.
Right? Because how are you going to raise your child? You can't do it. A lot of these parents are struggling. They're trying to, do the best that they can, but the way we have designed the system, it just doesn't give them the time that they need to be able to do. It's only 24 hours in a day, right? So we have to look at the system and listen, I'm all for trying out a 4-day work week.
Okay.
Right? Because we've had a 5-day work week for forever and a day, but like you said, we're not in industrial times anymore. Nobody's farming land anymore, right? We're not trying to do work by, daylight. We have electricity. Let's use all of these technological advances to our benefit to make our lives better.
Caller, please turn your volume down on your apparatus. Was that your question? Or do you have another question? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. I'm also in favor of a 4-day work week, maybe even a 3-day work week.
Okay. Well, you know what? 3 days, 4-day, yes. I think 3-day is pushing it.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, because we have to start somewhere, right?
Okay.
I want people to really be able to have a quality of life. And I don't think a quality of life is working 12 and 14-hour days.
Yes.
This whole COVID pandemic has been terrible. But I think one of the things that I've learned from it myself personally is to be able to give myself permission to slow down.
Yes.
And to be okay. And the value of family and friends.
So COVID, you keep walking right into them. de Blasio handle it right? He handled it left? What would you would have done differently? What does he need to do differently? We're moving into phase 4. We still should be in phase 1. Let me hear your thoughts. What's going on?
Yeah, I think, the whole challenge has been is that we had no guidance and leadership from the federal level, right? In an ideal world, if we had like a real president, then on the federal level, they would have set the guidelines, the state would have followed, the city would have gotten in line. Mm-hmm. But when you don't have that, you already created a system, a scenario that's chaotic, right? And sometimes people try to do the best that they can with the information and resources that they have. From my perspective, given we didn't know enough about this, I would have closed the schools, right? And I think it's an issue in and of itself that we say we can't close the schools because kids won't have anything to eat. Think about that. We can't close the schools because kids won't have anything to eat.
Not because their education will suffer, but because we're living in one of the richest countries in the world and we can't feed our children. I get it.
And that's where the People's First budget comes into play. We have to make sure that people's basic needs are met so that we are not dealing with this kind of situation where we can't do the right thing because it's going to have this after effect, right? So I would have, especially as a mom, I mean, my kids, the first priority for me is always safety, right? If it's my son and I don't feel comfortable, I'm not sending them to school anyway, right? But I think that we should have just went ahead and closed the schools until we knew more of what was going on.
Exactly.
Right?
And we'd have lost less teachers and less security. Now, that's a good segue. The security in the schools. They've had policing in the schools that is not unlike the policing that's been out on the street. In fact, the peace officers was what they used to be called, actually are in conjunction with the New York City Police. Do you feel that we should have them in the schools when the kids go back? Is this something that we should keep in the schools? Or should we revamp that as well?
Well, I think that we need to revamp it and we have to get these parents more involved. Parents have to understand that when left to themselves, your kids have to be able to be trusted. It's very disheartening to me when I go to schools in black areas and I go to schools in other areas, right? Because if you can go to schools in other areas and when you go inside, it's so nicely done. They have the best of everything. You go in schools in our areas and everything's mismatched. Your environment plays a huge part in how it is that you learn, right? But one of the things that I'm going to say, I've never went into other areas and see where you go into school and there's a metal detector. How can we have so many metal detectors in black schools? Do you see any metal detectors in Fortune 500 companies?
No, I do not.
Right?
So let's address that. How come there are so many?
Exactly. Because we're saying that our kids, when left to themselves, cannot be trusted. And we have to change that language. We have to change that dynamic. Because here's the thing. If you can't be trusted in high school, if you need a metal detector to get you to do the right thing, where you working at?
Yeah.
Where you working at?
You'll be robbing that McDonald's that you're the cashier from at the front desk.
Life
I get it.
Yeah, life is not like that.
But
you don't see metal detectors and companies that are doing well.
You're right.
You don't see metal detectors in the workplace.
You are absolutely right.
You have to know how to conduct yourself. So I definitely think that we shouldn't be treating these kids as criminals already. We have to get these kids in line.
But you said something interesting earlier with regard to the parents and having the parents be more interactive. There was a time period within the last 15 years that the parents were actually being pushed away from the schools. So our interaction, in fact, even with the, the PTAs and so on, they really were not looking for parents to come in and interact because it seemed that there were things going on in the schools that they didn't want us to see or want us to comment on. So it's kind of a two-way street with the parental supervision and the parents being involved, because there are some good parents out there that really, I know that I'm very diligent, especially with my last one who's 15, that he basically can't sneeze half the time without me being there. And that's kind of tragic because I do it. sometimes it's out of fear. The society that we live in, he literally could walk down the street, go into the store, and not come back. So I'm always on him. And I know very many parents that are like me. But there are also parents who really don't give a darn, and they're trying to be friends with their kids. So I get what you're trying to say, but I'm also bringing into the scope that there are parents who want to become a part, and there are parents that want to be on board, which will bring me to my next thing. How can we help you? Because it's all about coming together as a unit. How do we help you as a candidate? Because we haven't started the election. We've started the process. You still need to do a lot of things in your campaign. And as you mentioned before, COVID has done a job on you. So we need donations. Yes. We need people to get on board. We need to be more active. How can my audience come into your campaign and be of use in bringing this new voice that they're now interested in to the forefront? What can we do for you?
Well, the biggest thing that they could do for me right now as it relates to the campaign is to make donations to the campaign. This is a truly grassroots effort, so all donations would be appreciated so that we can keep the campaign running. A lot of people, wonder, and they ask the question like, why do you need donations? Well, it takes a team of people in order to be able to win an election. So there are people that you have to hire to run your campaign and do various things. You have to do advertising. There's a lot of expenses and things that go into it. So a donation is a huge part of it. Also, if people are interested in volunteering for the campaign, again, they can go to the website. There's a box that says Let's Chat. Send us your information. We're looking for volunteers as well. And support by spreading the word. Follow all of my social media at Taylor for 2021 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and tell your friends to do so as well, your friends and your family.
And we do have your website up on our Facebook page right now. Once again, that is taylorfor2021.com. Take a minute, go look. You've had a chance to sit and talk with her. You can still call in. We still do have time. So give us a call at 908-242-6234 as we're looking to tie things up. If you want to get in under the cuff right now, because I'm about to ask some different questions. Not everyone has officially thrown their hat into the ring yet. And you're starting early, which is terrific. And this is going to give you I think a leg up, because Lord knows I'm going to be right in the front pushing for you. My concerns would be Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams and Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. Now, these are two powerhouses, and they know the game, and they know how to play. I get it. You're passionate. I think you're wonderful. I think your platform is amazing. Everything that I've thrown at you, you've thrown it back, and you've given me exactly what I want to hear. But this is a comfortable environment, and we've had a comfortable friendship thus far. When we go to play with those big boys, how are we coming at them? Because these are powerhouses. What do we got?
Well, people are only as powerful as they are, you allow them to be in your mind. They're just, there's just another person to me. I know Ruben Diaz Jr., he actually said that he won't be running for mayor.
Oh, he bowed out.
Yeah, he bowed out already. So at the end of the day, my goal is not to, make anyone else look bad. I think sometimes we get caught up in that, right? It becomes about, making someone else look bad and this and that or whatever. But, sometimes you don't have to dim someone else's light for your light to shine.
That's my
If your light is going to shine, it's going to shine, right? And it's up to people to understand what it is that they want to see. See, right now, as you sit here, you're right. They have a lot more power than I have. Right? I've never been into politics. People have to ask themselves, but have they used their power for your good?
Yes.
Right? It's not up to me. People ask me all the time, what have I done for the community? I have to remind them it's not my responsibility to have done anything for the community. I'm not a politician. Right? It's up to the community to do things for themselves, and it's up to the community to understand their power and ensure that the people that they have relinquished power to, if they know that they have it, are doing things in their best interests. So at the end of the day, we can't do the same thing and expect different results. This is about people for me, and if people want to see it happen, it'll happen. I'm there with them all the way.
So Joycelyn, what is the one thing that you would leave with the audience that says, hey, I'm the one. Now, I know what I feel. I want to know what you feel. What is the sway? What is the passion? What is the move that everybody should be gravitating? Why? Why are we going with Joycelyn Taylor? Why do they need to come on board?
Well, I think that people need to come on board because if they look at their lives, right, and not everybody is going through something, but if they look at their lives and they look at the city, and whether you're going through something or somebody else is going through something, if it doesn't look right to you, we got to ask ourselves how we're going to change it. And I am that change. You have somebody that's here that's not doing it for power, for influence, for any other reason, but being just like you, tired. Tired. Someone that understands that we have created all of this. We did. And we have the power to change it. Think about that.
That's right.
We have the power to change it. If we want to get to a place where we're not having people or politicians or elected officials telling us every reason why something can't happen. Listen, they told me I couldn't run. That's part of the program. People will tell you every reason why something can't happen. But we're going to be about what can happen, and we're going to make happen.
Amazing. Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got one more call out. We're here with Joycelyn Taylor, mayoral candidate for 2021. We're on 908-242-6234. Phone lines are open for 5 more minutes. Call in and ask your question. I'm going to be reading a couple from the website to see if we missed anything or any interesting ones. And after that, we're going to tie it up. We did education. Is there anything else for final words that you want us to know?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, I do want to go back to education for a minute, because I want to just let parents know that when I'm saying that, I'm not saying it as a way to chastise anyone. I'm saying it as a way that we need to have honest conversation that people do need help. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with needing help, right? And we need to be a resource and, help each other where we can. My cousin says, you can't be your best self by yourself.
That's right. Takes a village.
It takes a village.
And we've been pulled away from the village for so long. We need to band back together and get that village back.
We need to get the village back, and we need to be a support to each other. And I'm just saying that to say that it's not all parents that will need the resources, but for the ones that do, let's not look down on them. Let's help them. Mm-hmm. Right? So I just hope that everyone will support the campaign and help me help you.
All right.
Right?
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to ESP Speaks with Joycelyn Taylor, mayoral candidate for 2021. We have really enjoyed our time here. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And you are always, always welcome. We're always here and activating for you. So we'll keep pushing the campaign. We'll keep all of your things up on the site, and feel free to call on us anytime. We are done. Do we have any more things? Ladies and gentlemen, we got a regular schedule. I'm here on Saturday nights at 6 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon, you have the One Night Show at 4 p.m. And then we go into our regular phase where you have the morning emails with Uncle Lay's Monday through Thursday. And then you have, I'm not working with my list. You have TD Dawkins on the Fresh Start Focus Saturday morning at 10. You have the Real Discussion at 7 p.m. on Friday nights with Rock Logic, Gary D, and ESP. You also have the Raw Discussion at 6 p.m. with Uncle Lay's. Boy, we're just dominating the airwaves at Boardwalk Global Media. Do we get a hand clap for that? All right. Joycelyn, it's been a wonderful time with you. Thank you so much. We hope you'll come back and visit again. And unless there's anything else that you want to add?
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed myself here.
I enjoyed myself as well.
So I will definitely be back. But thank you for
so
having me. I
much.
really appreciate you.
All right. Rocky, you got anything else?
Good night, Rocky.
Good night, Rocky.